Maya stared at the pink paper in her hands for what felt like the 100th time. The bold letters seemed to mock her. Eviction notice. 30 days to vacate. Her heart sank deeper each time she read those words. Being a college student was hard. Enough. But now she was about to become homeless too. She sat on her tiny apartment floor surrounded by textbooks and empty ramen cups. Her part-time job at the campus bookstore barely paid for food, let alone rent. When her roommate Lisa suddenly moved out last month to live with her boyfriend, Maya thought she could handle the full rent alone. She was wrong. Dead wrong. I can't ask Mom and Dad for money again, she whispered to herself, remembering their disappointed faces during their last video call. They were already struggling to support her younger brother's medical bills. Maya had promised them she could manage, on her own. But here she was, failing miserably. Her laptop buzzed with a new email notification. Another rejection from a potential roommate. That made it 15 rejections this week. People either wanted someone older, someone with better credit, or someone who didn't live in what they called that sketchy neighborhood near campus. Maya's phone rang, startling her from her thoughts. The caller ID showed her landlord's number. She let it ring, knowing exactly what he wanted to discuss. The eviction notice was just the beginning. Soon he'd want to know her exact move-out date. Desperate times called for desperate measures. Maya opened her laptop and refreshed her Craigslist ad for the 10th time that day. She'd lowered the rent amount so much that she'd be paying almost everything herself. But at least she wouldn't be on the streets. Her ad was simple. Female college student seeks roommate. Shared bedroom, split utilities. Great location near campus, serious inquiries only. She'd posted it everywhere. Craigslist, Facebook groups, campus bulletin boards, even asked her professors to mention it in class. Nothing worked. Just as Maya was about to close her laptop and accept her fate, a new message popped up. The sender's name was unusual, Zara. No last name, just Zara. The message was short but direct. I am interested in your room advertisement. I can pay 3 months advance. When can we meet? Maya's eyes widened. 3 months in advance? That would solve all her problems instantly. She quickly typed back, suggesting they meet at the campus coffee shop in an hour. Zara's response came immediately. I will be there. I am tall with dark hair. I will wait by the window. Maya threw on her cleanest jeans and a sweater, trying to look responsible and trustworthy. She arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early, ordering the cheapest drink on the menu and finding a table where she could watch the door. When Zara walked in, Maya knew immediately it was her. She was indeed tall, probably 6 feet, with the kind of dark hair that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Her skin had an almost perfect smoothness to it, like she'd never had a single blemish in her life. But what struck Maya most was how she moved, very deliberately, as if she was thinking carefully about each step. You must be Maya, Zara said, approaching the table. Her voice had a slight accent that Maya couldn't place. It wasn't Spanish, French, or any European accent she recognized. Thank you for meeting with me on such short notice. Of course. Thanks for responding so quickly, Maya replied, gesturing for Zara to sit down. Can I get you something to drink? That is not necessary, Zara said, sitting very straight in her chair. I prefer to discuss business matters directly. You mentioned the room requires sharing. This is acceptable to me, but I have specific requirements. Maya nodded eagerly. Sure, what kind of requirements? Zara folded her hands on the table and looked directly into Maya's eyes. First, I pay rent 3 months in advance in cash. This is non-negotiable. Second, I require the room to remain quiet after 10 p.m. I have important work that requires concentration. That's totally fine, Maya said, thinking these were the easiest roommate requests she'd ever heard. I'm usually studying or sleeping, by then anyway. Good, Zara continued. However, there are 2 additional requirements that may seem unusual to you. Maya felt her stomach tighten. Here comes the catch, she thought. Due to my cultural background, I cannot sleep alone in unfamiliar places. This means we would need to share the bed until I become accustomed to the environment. This is temporary, perhaps a few months. Maya blinked. Share the actual bed? Like, sleep in the same bed? Yes. I understand this may seem strange to Americans, but in my culture, it is common for people to share sleeping spaces for safety and comfort. However, this leads to my final requirement. There must be absolutely no physical contact between us. No touching, no closeness. We maintain our own sides of the bed with clear boundaries. Maya's mind raced. Sharing a bed with a complete stranger was definitely weird, but Zara seemed harmless enough. And 3 months of rent in advance would save her from eviction and give her time to find a better financial situation. I know this arrangement may seem uncomfortable, Zara added, seeming to sense Maya's hesitation. But I assure you, I am very respectful of personal space. Think of it as having a roommate who happens to share your sleeping area, nothing more. And this is just temporary? Maya asked. Yes. Once I adjust to living here, I can make other arrangements. Perhaps we can afford a larger place by then, or I can sleep on a couch. Maya looked at Zara's serious expression and made her decision. Okay, I can work with that. When would you want to move in? Zara reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. Today, if possible. Here's the first 3 months' rent plus deposit. She slid the envelope across the table. Maya opened it carefully, trying not to look too eager. Inside were crisp $100 bills, more cash than she'd ever seen in one place. She counted quickly. It was exactly the amount they'd agreed on, plus extra for utilities. This is... Wow. Are you sure about this? Maya asked, still staring at the money. I am certain. I prefer to handle my affairs quickly and efficiently. Shall we go see the apartment now? 20 minutes later, they were standing in Maya's small bedroom. The space suddenly felt even tinier with 2 people in it, and Maya wondered if they were both crazy for agreeing to this arrangement. The bed is adequate, Zara said, examining Maya's full-size mattress. I will take the left side, you will take the right. We can place pillows down the middle to maintain the boundary. Sounds like a plan, Maya agreed, though her voice sounded uncertain even to herself. Zara set her single suitcase on the floor. Maya was surprised by how little she'd brought, just 1 bag for someone who was planning to stay for months. I have very few possessions, Zara explained, noticing Maya's curious look. I prefer to live simply. That's cool. Very minimalist, Maya said. So, what do you do? For work, I mean? I am a researcher, Zara replied. I study human behavior and social patterns. It requires a lot of observation and note-taking. That's interesting. Are you getting a degree in psychology or something? Zara paused for a moment. Something like that, yes. My work is quite specialized. That evening, as they prepared for their first night sharing a bed, Maya felt incredibly awkward. She brushed her teeth while Zara arranged her side of the bed with military precision. When Maya came out of the bathroom, Zara had placed a neat row of pillows down the center of the mattress. Remember, Zara said, her tone very serious. No crossing this line. It is important for both our safety. Our safety? Maya asked, confused. It is just better this way, Zara replied quickly. Trust me on this. Maya climbed into her side of the bed, staying as close to the edge as possible. Zara lay down on her side, perfectly straight and still. The room fell into an uncomfortable silence. Good night, Maya, Zara said quietly. Good night, Zara. As Maya lay there in the darkness, listening to her strange new roommate's steady breathing, she couldn't help but wonder what she'd gotten herself into. Zara seemed nice enough, but there was something different about her that Maya couldn't quite identify. The way she spoke so formally, how she seemed to think carefully before answering simple questions, and especially that weird comment about safety. But as Maya's eyes grew heavy and sleep began to take over, she felt something unexpected, a sense of calm she hadn't experienced in weeks. Maybe it was just the relief of knowing she wouldn't be evicted. Or maybe there was something oddly comforting about not being alone in the apartment anymore. Whatever it was, Maya fell asleep faster than she had in months, unaware that her life had just taken a turn toward something far more extraordinary than she could ever imagine. 3 weeks had passed since Zara moved in, and Maya was starting to notice things. Weird things. Little details that didn't quite add up, but she couldn't put her finger on exactly what bothered her about them. It started with the food situation. Maya had offered to share groceries and split the cost like normal roommates do, but Zara politely declined, saying she had very specific dietary needs. Fair enough, Maya thought. Lots of people had food allergies or special diets these days. But then Maya realized she never actually saw Zara eat anything, ever. She'd catch glimpses of Zara in the kitchen early in the morning, but instead of cooking breakfast, Zara would be mixing strange powders into water. The mixtures were always odd colors, sometimes blue, sometimes a weird silver that seemed to shimmer. When Maya asked about it once, Zara had simply said it was a protein supplement from her home country. "What country are you from, anyway?" Maya had asked, genuinely curious. Zara had paused, looking almost confused by the question. "It is a very small place, you would not know it, very remote." That was another thing, Zara's way of speaking. Her English was perfect, but she talked like someone reading from a textbook. She never used slang, never said gonna or wanna like everyone else. Even Maya's international student friends were more casual in their speech after a few months in America. Then there were the packages. They arrived almost daily, always addressed to Zara, but never with a return address. The delivery drivers were different each time. Some Maya had never seen before, and they always looked confused when they handed over the packages, as if they weren't quite sure how they'd gotten there. The packages themselves were strange too. They weren't from Amazon or any recognizable company. The boxes were made of some kind of material that felt different from regular cardboard, smoother, almost metallic, and they were always perfectly sealed, like they'd been vacuum-packed. Maya's curiosity got the better of her one afternoon when Zara was out. She wasn't trying to snoop exactly, but she'd noticed that Zara's side of the room had started to look like some kind of science lab. There were small devices scattered on her nightstand, things that looked like crystals but seemed to glow with their own light. One of the devices was about the size of a smartphone but completely smooth, with no buttons or screen that Maya could see. As she leaned in to get a better look, her elbow accidentally knocked it off the nightstand. The moment her skin touched the device, Maya's world exploded into colors and images she'd never seen before. She saw a vast landscape under a sky that wasn't quite the right color, with buildings that seemed to grow from the ground like trees. Strange creatures moved through the air, and she could hear sounds that were almost like music, but unlike anything she'd ever heard. The vision lasted only a few seconds, but it felt like hours. When it ended, Maya found herself sitting on the floor, gasping and disoriented. Her head was spinning, and she felt like she might throw up. "What did you do?" Zara's voice came from the doorway, sharp and panicked in a way Maya had never heard before. Maya looked up to see Zara standing there, her face pale and her eyes wide with what looked like fear. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to touch it," Maya stammered, struggling to get back on her feet. "I was just looking and I accidentally knocked it over, and then I saw... "What did you see?" Zara asked, rushing over to pick up the device. She examined it carefully, running her fingers over its surface. "I don't know what I saw," Maya said honestly. "It was like another world or something. There were buildings and creatures, and the sky was wrong," and she trailed off, realizing how crazy she sounded. Zara's expression softened slightly, but she still looked worried. "It is a medical device," she said carefully. "Sometimes it can cause hallucinations if touched by the wrong person. You must never touch my belongings again, Maya, for your own safety." "A medical device? What kind of medical condition do you have?" "It is complicated," Zara replied, placing the device in a small box and locking it away. "Please, just promise me you will not touch my things again." Maya nodded, though she wasn't satisfied with the explanation. Medical devices didn't usually cause visions of alien worlds, but Zara looked so genuinely upset that Maya decided not to push the issue. That night, as they lay in bed with their pillow barrier between them, Maya found herself more aware of Zara than ever before. She noticed that Zara never seemed to sleep deeply. Even when she appeared to be resting, there was an alertness about her, like she was always listening for something. And then there were the sounds Zara made, Not snoring exactly, but a soft humming that seemed to come from deep in her chest. It was actually kind of soothing, like white noise, but it definitely wasn't normal. Maya also started noticing that Zara's skin had an unusual quality to it. In certain lighting, especially the dim glow from their alarm clock, it seemed to have a faint luminescence as if she was lit from within. Maya convinced herself it was just her imagination, or maybe Zara used some kind of special moisturizer. The really strange thing happened the following week when Maya came down with the flu. She'd been feeling run down for days, probably from stress and too much studying. By Thursday night, she had a high fever and was shivering despite being under every blanket she owned. Zara had seemed unusually agitated all evening, pacing around the small apartment and checking on Maya every few minutes. "You should go to the campus health center," Zara had suggested for the third time. "It's just the flu," Maya had mumbled through chattering teeth. "I'll be fine in a few days." But that night, Maya's fever spiked dangerously high. She was delirious, drifting in and out of consciousness, and she could hear Zara moving around the room, making soft sounds that might have been words in a language Maya didn't recognize. At some point during the night, Maya felt a cool hand touch her forehead. The touch was gentle and somehow immediately comforting. She felt a warm, tingling sensation spread from where the hand touched her, like gentle electricity flowing through her body. The feeling was so soothing that she sank deeper into sleep than she'd been able to manage all week. When Maya woke up the next morning, her fever was completely gone. She felt better than she had in days, as if the flu had never happened. Zara was already up, sitting on her side of the bed with her back turned, but Maya could see the tension in her shoulders. "Zara?" Maya said softly. Did you touch me last night?" Zara's shoulders stiffened even more. "You were very ill, I was concerned. But you said we should never touch each other. You said it was important for our safety." "You were sick," Zara repeated, not turning around. "Sometimes rules must be broken in emergency situations." Maya sat up, feeling surprisingly energetic for someone who'd been dying of flu just hours earlier. "How did I get better so fast? That's not normal, is it?" "The human body is capable of remarkable healing when properly rested," Zara said, but her voice sounded strained. "Zara, what aren't you telling me?" Maya asked, reaching out to touch Zara's shoulder. "Please don't," Zara said quickly, moving away from Maya's reach. "It is better if we maintain our boundaries." But Maya had already seen the look in Zara's eyes when she turned around, a mixture of fear, longing, and something else that looked almost like guilt. Whatever Zara was hiding, it was big, and Maya was starting to suspect that her mysterious roommate was much more than just an international student with unusual habits. The strange devices, the impossible healing, the way Zara sometimes seemed to be listening to voices that weren't there. It all pointed to something Maya's rational mind couldn't quite accept. But as she watched Zara carefully arrange her belongings and return to her rigid daily routine, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she was living with someone who wasn't entirely human. The question was, what was she going to do about it? The days following Zara's revelation felt like living in a dream. Maya would wake up each morning and for a split second forget that her roommate was from another world. Then reality would hit her, and she'd look over at Zara preparing for her day with that same careful precision and remember that everything had changed. But in some ways, everything had also stayed the same. Zara still maintained her side of the bed, still spoke in that formal way, still received mysterious packages. The only difference was that now Maya understood what it all meant. Those weren't medical devices. They were alien technology. Those weren't dietary supplements. They were probably some kind of nutrition system designed for beings who weren't human. Maya found herself fascinated rather than frightened. She'd always been curious about life beyond Earth, but she'd never imagined she'd actually meet someone from another world, and certainly not someone who'd become so important to her daily life. "Can I ask you something?" Maya said one evening as they were both reading on their respective sides of the bed. "Of course," Zara replied, looking up from what appeared to be a book but was probably some kind of advanced learning device. "What's your real name?" "I mean, Zara sounds pretty human. Is that what your people actually call you?" Zara smiled, a genuine expression that Maya rarely saw from her. My real name would be very difficult for you to pronounce. It involves sounds that human vocal cords cannot make. Zara is close enough to the meaning, which roughly translates to observer of distant lights. That's actually beautiful, Maya said. Observer of distant lights. I like that better than just Zara. I am glad you approve. Maya closed her textbook and turned to face Zara more directly. What's your world like? I mean, besides what you showed me in that projection, what's it like to live there? Zara set down her device and considered the question. It is very different from here. Everything is more organized, planned. Each person has a specific role, and everyone follows their duties without question. There is no chaos like you have on Earth. That sounds kind of boring, Maya said honestly. I thought so too until I came here. My people would say that chaos is inefficient and leads to suffering, but I have learned that your chaos also leads to creativity, to unexpected joy, to discoveries that would never happen in a perfectly ordered world. Like what? Like music that makes no logical sense but somehow moves the listener to tears, like art that serves no practical purpose but brings beauty into existence, like friendships that form between completely different individuals for no reason other than they enjoy each other's company. Maya felt a warmth in her chest at Zara's words. Is that what we are? Friends? Zara's expression became more serious. I am not certain. My people do not have a concept that matches what you call friendship. We have allies, colleagues, those who serve similar functions. But what I feel for you, it is something I was not prepared for. What do you feel? Maya asked softly. Before Zara could answer, a loud crack of thunder shook the building. Both of them looked toward the window where rain had started pelting against the glass. The storm had come out of nowhere, and the sudden darkness made their small room feel even more intimate. Maya had always hated thunderstorms. Ever since she was a child, the loud noises and sudden flashes of light triggered something primal and fearful in her. As another boom of thunder rolled overhead, she instinctively moved closer to the center of the bed. The weather prediction did not indicate a storm tonight, Zara observed, watching Maya's reaction with concern. I hate storms, Maya admitted, flinching as lightning illuminated the room. They always remind me of when I was 7 and got caught outside during a tornado warning. I was alone and couldn't find my parents and... She trailed off as another crash of thunder made her jump. Without thinking, Zara reached across the pillow barrier and placed her hand over Maya's. The moment their skin touched, both of them gasped. It was like nothing Maya had ever experienced. She could suddenly feel Zara's emotions as clearly as her own. Curiosity, concern, and underneath it all, a deep loneliness that had been hidden behind Zara's formal demeanor. But more than that, she could sense something else, something warm and protective and surprisingly tender. For Zara, the connection was even more overwhelming. She'd been trained to avoid this exact situation, but feeling Maya's fear and vulnerability triggered every protective instinct she didn't know she possessed. Through their joined hands, she could sense Maya's memories, not just of the storm that had frightened her as a child, but of all the times she'd felt alone and scared. The depth of human emotion was staggering. I can feel what you're feeling, Maya whispered, her voice filled with wonder. As can I, Zara replied, but her voice carried a note of concern. This is what my people warned me about. Physical contact creates a bond between us. The longer we maintain it, the stronger it becomes. But neither of them pulled away. The storm raged outside, but inside their small space, they sat connected by more than just touch. Maya could feel Zara's fascination with human emotions, her confusion about her own feelings and her growing attachment to Maya specifically. Is this dangerous? Maya asked, though she made no move to break the connection. I do not know, Zara admitted. My people never explained exactly what would happen, only that it should be avoided. Another flash of lightning lit up the room, but this time Maya didn't flinch. She felt too safe, too grounded by Zara's presence and the steady calm that seemed to flow from her alien companion. I'm not afraid anymore, Maya said softly. Good. You should not be afraid when I am here. They sat like that for nearly an hour, Hands connected while the storm passed overhead. Maya found herself learning things about Zara that went beyond words. Her deep curiosity about everything around her, her struggle to understand concepts like humor and spontaneity, and most surprisingly, her growing affection for Maya that she didn't fully comprehend. When the thunder finally moved off into the distance, Zara slowly pulled her hand away. But the connection didn't disappear entirely. Maya could still sense a faint echo of Zara's emotions, like a whisper at the edge of her consciousness. "What happens now?" Maya asked. "I am not certain. This bond, it is not supposed to exist. My superiors will be able to detect it if they scan me during my next communication. Will you get in trouble? Possibly. But Maya, I want you to know that I do not regret it. For the first time since I arrived on your world, I feel like I understand what my observations were supposed to discover." "What do you mean?" "I was sent to study human emotions to understand how they drive your behavior, but I was approaching it like a scientific problem, cataloging responses and reactions. I did not understand that emotions are not just something humans have. They are something humans are. They connect you to each other in ways that my people never experience." Maya felt a surge of warmth at Zara's words. "And now you're experiencing them too?" "Yes. And it is both wonderful and terrifying." Over the following days, their relationship shifted in subtle but significant ways. The strict pillow barrier remained, but there was a new awareness between them. Sometimes Maya would wake up to find Zara watching her with an expression she was learning to recognize as fondness. Other times she'd catch herself staring at Zara and wondering what it would be like to really touch her, to hold her hand again, or maybe even embrace her. Zara seemed to be struggling with similar thoughts. Maya noticed her fighting internal battles, reaching toward Maya unconsciously, and then pulling back, as if reminding herself of rules that no longer made complete sense. 3 days after the storm, Zara received an urgent communication. Maya watched from across the room as Zara activated her device and spoke in rapid, urgent tones in her alien language. Even without understanding the words, Maya could tell it wasn't good news. When the conversation ended, Zara sat in silence for a long moment. "What's wrong?" Maya asked, though she was afraid she already knew. "They are requesting my immediate return. My extended stay has been noted, and they want a full report on my findings. How much time do we have?" 2 of your days, maybe 3 if I can convince them I need to complete certain observations." Maya felt like she'd been punched in the stomach, just when she was beginning to understand her feelings for Zara, when they'd started to develop this incredible connection. It was all going to end. "What will you tell them? About the bond between us, I mean." Zara looked at her with eyes full of conflict. "I do not know. If I tell them the truth, they may decide that further contact with humans is too dangerous. If I lie, they may eventually discover it anyway. And if they find out, then both of our peoples could suffer for my mistakes." Maya moved closer to the edge of her side of the bed, as close as she could get without crossing their invisible boundary. "Zara, I need you to know something. Whatever happens, this isn't a mistake. What we have, this connection, it's the most real thing I've ever experienced." Zara's carefully controlled expression cracked, and Maya saw the depth of emotion she'd been holding back. "Maya, You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know." But as they sat there, separated by mere inches but unable to bridge that final gap, both of them knew that their time was running out, and neither of them was ready to say goodbye. The next morning, Maya woke up to find Zara's side of the bed empty. Panic shot through her heart until she heard soft voices coming from the living room. She crept to the bedroom door and listened, recognizing Zara's voice speaking in that strange language, but this time the tone was different, urgent, almost pleading. Maya couldn't understand the words, but she could feel the tension through their new connection. Whatever Zara was discussing with her people, it wasn't going well. When Zara returned to the bedroom 20 minutes later, her face was pale and her usual composed demeanor was completely shattered. "What happened?" Maya asked, sitting up in bed. "No," Zara said simply, sinking onto her side of the bed. They detected the emotional bond during our communication. They are sending a ship to collect me within 48 hours. Maya's heart stopped. 48 hours? That's not enough time. Time for what? To figure this out, to find another solution. Maya scrambled out of bed and began pacing. There has to be another way. What if you told them you needed more time to complete your research? What if… Maya, stop. Zara's voice was gentle but firm. There is no other solution. I have violated their most important rule about contact with other species. I have compromised my mission and potentially put both our worlds at risk. How? How does us caring about each other put anyone at risk? Zara was quiet for a moment, staring at her hands. My people's understanding of emotions is limited. They see strong emotional bonds as a weakness that could be exploited by enemy species. If they believe humans can form these connections with us, they may decide your world is too dangerous to leave alone. Maya felt cold dread settling in her stomach. What does that mean? It could mean many things. Restricted contact, constant surveillance, or… Zara trailed off. Or what? Or they could decide that the safest solution is to prevent humans from advancing technologically. They have done this with other worlds before. Maya sank back onto the bed, the full weight of the situation hitting her. So because we fell for each other, my entire planet could be in danger? It is possible. That is why I must return immediately and convince them that what happened between us was an isolated incident, that humans in general are not capable of forming these bonds with my people. But that would be a lie. Yes, but it would be a lie that protects your world. Maya looked at Zara, seeing the pain and conflict written across her features. What about you? What happens to you when you go back? I will face consequences for my actions. At minimum, I will never be allowed on another observation mission. At worst… She didn't finish the sentence. At worst, what? At worst, they will decide that I have been too compromised by human emotions and will remove those emotions permanently. Maya felt like she'd been slapped. They can do that? Yes. It is considered a medical procedure to restore proper function. That's horrible. They want to take away the part of you that makes you, you. To my people, emotions are not seen as part of identity. They are viewed as chemical reactions that can interfere with logical thinking. Maya stood up abruptly, anger flooding through her. Well, your people are wrong. Emotions aren't just chemical reactions. They're what make life worth living. They're what make connections between people possible. I know that now, Zara said softly. Living with you has taught me that. But my people will not understand. Then don't go back. The words hung in the air between them. Zara looked up at Maya with surprise and something that might have been hope. What? Don't go back, Maya repeated, moving closer. Stay here with me. We'll figure out how to make it work. Maya, I cannot survive indefinitely in this form without support from my ship. And even if I could, they would eventually find me. My people do not abandon their own, even those who have made mistakes. How long could you survive here on your own? Perhaps a few months, maybe a year, if I am very careful with my energy reserves. Then we have time to find a solution. Zara shook her head. You do not understand. If I do not return, they will send others to find me. And when they do, they will discover our bond and draw the same conclusions about humanity that I am trying to prevent. Maya felt tears starting to form in her eyes. So there's really no way for us to be together? I do not see how. What if… Maya wiped her eyes and took a deep breath. What if I came with you? Zara's eyes widened in shock. What? You heard me. What if I came back to your world with you? Would that prove to your people that the bond isn't dangerous? Maya, you cannot be serious. You would be leaving everything you know, your family, your studies, your entire life. My family barely talks to me anyway, and I can study anywhere. As for my life… Maya sat down next to Zara, closer than they'd ever sat before. My life doesn't mean much without you in it anymore. You do not understand what you are saying. My world is completely different from yours. The gravity, the atmosphere, the social structure, everything would be alien to you. Then help me understand. Teach me. Zara stared at her for a long moment. Even if it were possible, which I doubt, the journey alone could kill you. Your human body is not designed for the type of travel required. But you said your people have advanced technology. Surely they could find a way to make it safe. Perhaps. But Maya, you would be giving up everything for an uncertain future. What if my people reject you? What if they decide you are a threat and what? The worst they could do is send me back here, right? Zara's silence was answer enough. Okay, Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. So it's dangerous, but Zara, what we have, isn't it worth taking a risk for? Before Zara could answer, her communication device began pulsing with urgent light. She picked it up, and Maya could hear angry voices coming from it even though she couldn't understand the language. Zara's responses were short and defensive. When the conversation ended, she looked even more shaken than before. What now? Maya asked. They have moved up the timeline. They are sending a ship to collect me. Tonight? Tonight? But you said we had 48 hours. They are concerned about the strength of our bond. They want to extract me before it grows any stronger. Maya felt panic rising in her chest. So this is it? In a few hours you'll be gone forever? Yes. And there's nothing we can do to stop it? Zara was quiet for a long moment, and Maya could feel her internal struggle through their connection. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. There is one possibility. What? I could destroy my communication device and disable my tracking beacon. Without those, it would take my people much longer to find me. Perhaps long enough to find another solution. But wouldn't that put you in even more danger when they eventually found you? Yes. But Maya, for the first time in my existence, I understand what you humans call hope, and I understand what it means to choose love over duty. Maya felt her heart soar. You'd really do that? You'd stay here with me? For as long as possible, yes, though I cannot promise what will happen when they eventually find us. We'll face that together when it comes. Zara reached for her communication device, then hesitated. Maya, are you certain? Once I do this, there will be no going back. My people will consider me a rogue agent, and anyone harboring me will be seen as an accomplice. I'm certain, Maya said without hesitation. I'd rather have whatever time we can get together than spend the rest of my life wondering what could have been. Zara nodded, then picked up the device. She spoke a few words in her language, words that sounded like a goodbye, then activated something that made the device spark and go dark. It is done, she said. I have chosen you over everything I was taught to believe was important. Maya reached across the space between them and took Zara's hand. This time, when their connection flared to life, it felt different, stronger, more permanent. So what happens now? Maya asked. Now we make the most of whatever time we have, Zara replied. And we hope that love really is as powerful as humans believe it to be. As they sat there, hands linked and hearts connected across the vast distances between their worlds, Maya realized that sometimes the biggest risks led to the most beautiful rewards. They didn't know what the future would bring, but they would face it together. Outside their window, the stars looked different to Maya now. Instead of distant points of light, they represented possibilities, adventures, and maybe even a new home where two different worlds could come together through the simple power of love. The invisible line down the middle of their bed was finally gone, replaced by a connection that transcended species, worlds, and everything either of them had been taught was possible. For the first time since this strange journey began, they fell asleep side by side, no barriers between them, ready to face whatever came next as long as they faced it together. 6 months had passed since Zara made her choice to stay on Earth. 6 incredible months that had changed both their lives in ways neither could have imagined. Maya's tiny apartment had become their whole world, a safe haven where an alien and a human learned what it meant to truly love someone. But Maya could see the toll it was taking on Zara. Her alien companion was growing weaker. The vibrant glow that once emanated from her skin had dimmed considerably. Some mornings Zara could barely get out of bed, and Maya would find her staring out the window with a longing that broke her heart. "You're thinking about home again," Maya said one evening, finding Zara sitting by the window watching the stars. "Sometimes," Zara admitted, "not because I regret staying, but because I worry about what my absence means for my people, and I worry about what will happen to you when I don't," Maya interrupted, moving to sit beside her. "Don't talk like that. Maya, we both know I am dying. My body was not designed to survive this long without the energy sources from my ship. I have perhaps weeks left, maybe a month if I am fortunate." Maya felt tears welling up in her eyes. They'd talked about this before, but it never got easier to hear. "There has to be something we can do. Some way to contact your people and explain." "No," Zara's voice was firm. "If I contact them now, they will know immediately how much I have deteriorated. They will see it as proof that emotional bonds with humans are destructive to our kind. It would make everything worse for both our worlds." Maya stood up abruptly, frustration boiling over. "So what? We just give up? We just accept that you're going to fade away and there's nothing we can do about it?" "Maya, please. No, I refuse to accept this." Maya began pacing around their small living room. "You're the most amazing person I've ever met. You've taught me things about the universe I never could have imagined. You've shown me what real love feels like. And now you're telling me I just have to watch you die." Zara stood slowly, her movements more careful than they used to be. "What would you have me do? Return to my people and let them erase everything I have become? Let them decide that humanity is too dangerous to leave alone? What if—" Maya stopped pacing and turned to face Zara. "What if we told them the truth? Not just about us, but about what you've learned here. About how love and emotions make people stronger, not weaker. They would not believe it. Then we make them believe it. We show them." Zara shook her head sadly. "Maya, you do not understand my people. They have spent thousands of years believing that emotions are a weakness. They will not change their minds because of one rogue agent and her human companion." "Maybe not," Maya said, moving closer to Zara. "But what if we're not the only ones? What if there are others among your people who have started to question the old ways?" "What do you mean? You said you were part of a team observing different worlds. What if some of the other observers have had similar experiences? What if you're not as alone as you think?" Zara considered this for a moment. "It is possible, I suppose. But even if that were true, how would we know? How would we contact them without alerting the authorities?" Maya smiled for the first time in days. "Leave that to me. I might be human, but I've learned a few things about your technology over the past 6 months." Over the next week, Maya worked tirelessly to understand Zara's communication devices. Her computer science background helped more than she'd expected, and Zara's patient teaching filled in the gaps. They discovered that Zara's equipment could be modified to send very low-power transmissions that would be harder for the authorities to detect. "Are you certain about this?" Zara asked as Maya made the final adjustments to the device. "No," Maya admitted. "But I'm certain that doing nothing isn't an option. If this works, maybe we can find allies among your people. If it doesn't work, at least we'll have tried." They decided to send a simple message to other observation teams, asking if anyone had experienced unexpected emotional developments during their missions. Maya suggested coding it as a research inquiry rather than a distress call. The response came faster than either of them had expected. Within hours, they received 3 separate messages from other observers, all reporting similar complications with their missions. One was from an observer studying a world of underwater dwellers, who had developed what he called protective instincts toward his subjects. Another was from someone observing a planet of telepathic beings who had begun experiencing unprecedented mental connections. But the most surprising response came from someone Maya hadn't expected, one of the senior officers from Zara's home world. "This message is from Commander Kess," Zara said, her voice filled with shock as she translated. "She is one of the highest-ranking officials in our observation program." "What does she say?" "She says she has been monitoring reports from various observation teams and has noticed a pattern. She wants to arrange a secret meeting." Maya felt hope flooding through her. "A meeting? Here?" "No," she suggests, "a neutral location, a small moon in your solar system, where her ship can land without being detected by either of our peoples." "That sounds incredibly dangerous." "It is. But Maya, if someone like Commander Kess is willing to take this risk, it means we might not be fighting this battle alone." 3 days later, they found themselves in the most surreal situation of Maya's life. She was sitting in what could only be described as an alien spacecraft on one of Jupiter's smaller moons, having a conversation that could determine the fate of 2 entire civilizations. Commander Kess was nothing like Maya had expected. She was tall like Zara, but older, with silver markings along her arms that seemed to shift and change as she spoke. Her presence was commanding but not unkind. "Observer Zara," she said in perfect English, "you have caused quite a stir among our people." "I am prepared to face the consequences of my actions," Zara replied formally. "I am sure you are. But first, I would like to understand exactly what has happened to you." She turned to Maya. "And I would like to hear from the human who has apparently changed one of our most dedicated observers." Maya took a deep breath. "Commander, with respect, Zara didn't need changing. She just needed the freedom to become who she really is." "Explain." For the next hour, Maya told their story. She explained how their relationship had developed, how the emotional bond between them had made both of them stronger and more complete. She talked about the joy and growth that came from caring about someone else, and how that care had motivated them to take risks and make sacrifices they never would have made alone. Commander Kess listened without interruption, occasionally asking questions that showed she was taking Maya's words seriously. "You believe," the commander said finally, "that emotions make your species stronger?" "I know they do," Maya replied confidently. "Emotions drive us to protect each other, to create beautiful things, to explore and discover and grow. Without emotions, we'd just be machines. And yet emotions also lead to conflict, to wars, to destruction. Sometimes, yes. But they also lead to love, to art, to scientific breakthroughs made by people who care enough to spend their lives searching for answers. The bad doesn't cancel out the good, it just makes the good more precious." Commander Kess turned to Zara. "And you agree with this assessment?" "Yes, Commander. Living among humans has taught me that emotions are not a weakness to be eliminated, but a strength to be understood and channeled. I am not less effective because I care about Maya. I am more motivated to succeed because I have something worth protecting." The commander was quiet for a long moment, her silver markings shifting in what Maya was beginning to recognize as a sign of deep thought. "Observer Zara," she said finally, "you are not the only one among our people who has begun to question our traditional approaches. There are others who believe it is time for our species to evolve beyond the limitations we have placed on ourselves." Maya felt her heart racing. "Does that mean?" "It means," Commander Kess continued, "that perhaps it is time for a new kind of observation mission, one where we do not simply study other species from a distance, but learn to understand them through genuine connection." She stood up, and both Maya and Zara rose as well. "I cannot promise that our people will accept this new approach immediately. Change comes slowly to a species that has remained unchanged for millennia. But I can promise that you will not face the consequences alone." "What does that mean for us?" Maya asked. "It means that your bond will be studied not as a failure, but as a potential breakthrough. It means that Zara will receive the medical support she needs to survive in human form, and it means that you, Maya, may find yourself serving as an ambassador between our peoples." Maya looked at Zara, seeing hope and wonder in her eyes for the first time in weeks. "Are you saying we can stay together?" Zara asked, I am saying that love, it seems, may be the most powerful force in the universe, and perhaps it is time my people learned to embrace that power rather than fear it. As they prepared to return to Earth, Maya reflected on how much their lives had changed. What had started as a desperate housing arrangement had become a love story that might reshape the relationship between two worlds. "Do you think it will work?" Maya asked as they settled back into their familiar bed that night. "I do not know," Zara replied, her arm around Maya for the first time since